Listeners everywhere, welcome to the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan, the weekly fix for your screen addiction and a trusted source for discussion of all things film and television. Please keep in mind that for the purposes of this podcast, Joel and Ryan are not acting as journalists, but rather fellow moving picture enthusiasts. All of their opinions should be taken as such. Also, please be warned that while Joel and Ryan may seem like petulant children, they are, in fact, adults who may occasionally use adult language. While they promise to bleep out all the worst words, it's a good bet you will still understand what they were saying. And now, with no further ado, here's Joel and Ryan.
Hello, everybody! Fellow movie enthusiasts, welcome to the
moving picture enthusiast.
Moving picture, yes, you're right. I guess anyone could be a moving. I actually said moving enthusiast. I just dropped picture. So if you're
nobody is a moving enthusiast.
Well, I guess if you're
even people who move for a living are not enthusiastic
like,
about
wow,
it. I've met several of them.
I'm moving, unless you were just talking about the general concept of moving through space.
You helped me move once. God bless you.
I did. Yeah.
You did. You really did, and I got a lot of stuff.
Yes, if anyone has looked at the picture of Ryan and I recording and the giant wall of music behind us.
It's like relocating a library.
That is just one wall, of which most places have more than one wall. And in Ryan's case, all of them have some sort of media on it. Welcome to episode 5 of the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. We now, after today, will have legitimately a handful of episodes. This is kind of, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, good.
They're coming along nicely.
Yeah, and I hesitate. I mean, I want to believe that as we keep moving forward in this, that the amount that you are enjoying it is directly proportional to how much better we are at getting to do this.
Hopefully.
I hope that's the case. I may be speaking out of turn. I may be ruining everything by commenting, and it might be one of those where I just ruined the moment and I just took away all the magic of our podcast.
Yeah, you're not helping right now.
No, I am not, and I just continue to keep talking, which is probably
you're absolutely killing it.
Yeah,
no one is enjoying this part of the show.
No, and they're right to not enjoy this.
I'm liking it. I like watching you flounder around over there. It makes me feel better.
You know, because sometimes sweating is a good thing, and if you can propagate your own flop sweat, I think that is a positive thing ultimately. So once again, my name is Joel.
And I'm Ryan.
Yeah, that guy over there. I was kind of pointing, and I realized I was pointing in a way that Ryan could not see me point.
No. But I should know by now that when you say you're Joel, there's
because I don't like to speak for you. I could have said I'm Joel. And sitting next to me is Ryan, but I don't need to speak for you.
No,
you
have me here for that.
Yeah. How was your week?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah. We gave ourselves a little buffer on posting shows, so we're about to celebrate Halloween, where people are listening to this probably more like around the Thanksgiving holidays, so a little goofy, but we felt we needed a few shows kind of in the cash before we launched into all this.
Right.
But so I've had a good week. I watched a ton of movies during Halloween. I don't know why. Just because I just sort of cram in anything that might be vaguely Halloween related at the same time of year. And in a way, you watch too many things and some things don't get a fair shake because you get bored with stuff. But I do sort of give this, I don't know, lesser films that I might not be excited about. If they fit the right mood, the mood of the season, they have a better shot of being appreciated, and that's been the case. So,
and maybe this is too large a question, but I am curious, and this is something that we rarely ever actually talk about. Is so like for right now, it's the Halloween season.
Yeah.
And do you feel any sort of obligation to watch these films, or is it just no, I'm kind of in the holiday spirit, and so that's what
It's pretty weird, and I don't want to. It's a huge. My movie viewing habits really is a whole discussion, so I won't totally
we'll
go into
save
them.
that for episode 100.
There you go, a very special
deep dive,
episode
a very special
of the
deep
movie show with
dive
Joel
of
and Ryan.
Ryan's- of
But
Ryan's
the gist of it
brain.
is, I'm a single guy, and I'm a big movie fan, and I do watch movies kind of again and again. I watch my favorites annually, and I do, with some exceptions, plug those in seasonally.
Yeah.
And certainly this time of year, scary movies. Yeah, why not? It's why not? It's perfect.
No, yeah, I mean, I agree that.
I mean, it doesn't mean I won't
there's-
watch a scary movie some other time of the year, but mostly I hang on to them and save them for Halloween.
It's Halloween time. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, I think that would be a fun. I would like to. Well, as your friend for all of these many years, there are times where I'm like, I want to know more about your brain, and maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should.
You need to
just
keep some objectivity
I
over
should-
there.
yeah.
Now that we're business partners too.
So, I actually saw a movie in the damn movie theater.
Yes,
This
that
week.
we talked about
Yeah,
already.
It was a big deal. It's to say that I wanted to do
Me
this,
too. I
and
hadn't seen
did it.
anything for a long time.
Yeah.
So
I was in for those of you who I believe we've mentioned this before, Ryan and I both are in the Minneapolis metro area, the Twin Cities metro area of Minnesota. I was down in Rochester at the world famous Mayo Clinic, luckily not for any sort of procedure that I was getting done. But I was helping, as an actor, I was helping doctors learn how to communicate better, which was really, really cool. But on an evening that we had free, went and saw First Man
yeah,
with Ryan Gosling as Neil Armstrong. And you were telling me that you also saw it.
yeah. I was saying on the show that I was about to see it, and I did see it. I saw it with my dad, and we liked it a lot. I mean, you and I went off on a huge space program tangent, and you get a lot of that out of this. But really, it's as a man, he was
a very crunchy man.
he was a quiet guy. He wasn't one of those astronauts, because if he wanted to, he was the guy who first stepped foot on the moon. I mean, he could have been in every commercial. He could have done a cameo in everything.
He could have run for any office that he wanted to.
That's right.
The man could have literally done anything.
And he just did. I mean, walking on the moon was a big deal, and that was enough. And he, and he didn't quite have the personality type to really engage with people in that sort of gregarious way.
For such a huge...
Corey Stoll plays Buzz Aldrin.
I know,
in
and
it.
it's so good. It's
But just as a contrast to Armstrong, and it's very strong.
Corey Stoll is obviously he's so good in pretty much everything that he does.
He's
and to
solid.
have him kind of come in as this really, this really gregarious, boisterous Buzz Aldrin.
Who we all know, because we've seen him throughout the years.
And because Buzz was the guy. Buzz was the guy who had no problem selling the space program, and has had. I mean, he continues to be out there, and but Neil Armstrong was quiet from day one. It was amazing. It was really wonderful to have this giant, momentous event movie, a movie about this seminal moment in our history, but to have this movie be so quiet and so intimate, and
right, you really feel like you're crammed into those space helmets. It's not a Apollo 13 or experience. There's not, even when the rocket blasts off, you're in the canister with them.
Yeah,
there's no long shot of the crowds, and he puts you right in that spacesuit, and that's, and in his test flight sequences and stuff. I mean, you feel like you're right in there. It's really,
it was
it's
it
that
was
mix of intimacy within the flights and the different events, and the intimacy within his own family and his struggles. It was really a great movie. I loved it.
And that's a perfect place to point out the wonderful Claire Foy playing Janet Armstrong.
She's a busy lady. Holy Moses.
And doing this wide gamut of stuff. I mean, she's gonna have by the time this year's out, she'll have a firm reputation as a woman who literally can play pretty much anything.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So it was really wonderful. It was great, and it was great to have the cinema experience. I will say, however, I was with another actor and her husband. The three of us went out to see the movie. We got tickets for the IMAX production at this movie theater in lovely Rochester, Minnesota. And there was absolutely nothing IMAX about the theater.
Limax.
It was Limax. It was a big screen, but there was nothing IMAX about it.
Trademark Roger Ebert. He called it
Oh, did he?
Limax.
I like that. Yeah. So
that's the worst.
So however, it's not like it was still weeknight pricing, and we got
and it's still okay. A big screen and a loud movie, and but that's too bad.
So First Men, go see it.
That's a good one.
Anything else? Anything else go on?
I was going to plug 2 Thanksgiving movies real quick.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Thanksgiving.
Just real quick, because I don't want to.
Yeah, there's some really great Thanksgiving movies, like the wonderful, the wonderful family comedy Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
That's a good one, I guess, for a John Hughes movie. That's one of the top ones. I'm gonna go with 2 really dark, terrifying stories instead. The first one, which everybody should have seen because it's got the Wolverine in there and it's got Rhodey #1, not Rhodey #2, and some big stars. Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. Is The Prisoner. The Prisoner, not really. It's not a Thanksgiving themed movie, but it takes place on Thanksgiving and it's autumnal, early winter kind of film, and it's a little harrowing, so watch out. It's not, I don't know. It's not it doesn't feel like a Hollywood story. It's all these people suffer a lot because of something that happens to them on Thanksgiving, and it's got all kinds of twists and turns and some great, really intense performances by just about everybody involved. So The Prisoners, check that out. And then a little throwback that was pretty much a throwback at the time is Don't Say a Word? Now I forgot the movie I was going to plug.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know. It's over there on the word. Over there on the wall. Yeah, Don't Say a Word.
Okay.
It's Michael Douglas and Sean Bean is in that. And that takes place on Thanksgiving too. The really great person in that, and with an asterisk, but is the late Brittany Murphy. She plays maybe you might say a pretty stereotypical kind of crazy person, a committed, mentally insane person in it. But it's a great performance. It's a gonzo sort of go for it all performance by her, and I always liked her. I always thought, she's really good, and yet she's not really in anything very good. And Don't Say a Word isn't gonna. That's not gonna change that, and we can't really fix that now. But I always thought that's someone who, once they get the role right, they're gonna be a big star. And Don't Say a Word is fun. That's actually safe. It's a fun, old-fashioned, family in jeopardy thriller. It's a pretty cool movie, so check it out.
So if you're having an argument with your uncle about politics or something, and you need to see people who have it worse off than you, make sure you watch The Prisoners.
Yeah, your Thanksgiving could be a lot worse, folks.
If you need to make it feel a little bit better.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. So what I want to make sure I do now is that I want to make sure that you all out there in listener land know that you have a source now to help answer all of your movie, television, entertainment queries that you might have. I mean, are you constantly arguing with a loved one about who's better, C-3PO or R2-D2? I mean, are you racked with doubt because you can't decide which of Charlie's Angels is the best? Well,
Lucy Liu is the best.
Well, yeah. Now there is hope. See, Ryan and I have been answering the toughest movie and television-related questions with absolute unearned confidence for over 20 years. And now we want to make sure that you know that our self-appointed expertise is available to you. So please, if you have any brain-busting questions, head on over to our Facebook page at The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan on Facebook, or hit up Ask Joel and Ryan at Ask Joel and Ryan on Twitter, and you can send us your queries, your dilemmas. Oh boy, it would be great if you said, I don't know who is better, Michael Bain or who else is an Aliens? Oh my God, Michael Bain or Bill Paxton. Who's the more fun character? That was pretty easy. But then, if you're
when you say it like that, it's not a very hard
anyway,
question.
But if there are queries out there that you just can't decide, and frankly it's been keeping you up at night, we are here for you. We are here. We will believe you. So please hit us up. And with that, I will go ahead and start us off with the countdown.
10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So today we wanted to make sure that, we spent the last 4 weeks talking about movies and mostly movies. But this will be, we want this to be a place that you can come to hear some of what we think, because we think very highly of ourselves. Some of the best discussion you'll hear about TV as well.
Yeah. Well, that's movies too, really.
Well, it really is. Especially we really are in a. I'll say it. I might be coining this phrase, another golden era of television. I don't think that's ever been said before. So you can.
I think it has been said. Has it been said? I know. I'm teasing you.
Okay.
I get that you were joking. I just want to make sure everybody else knew.
But it is a great time, and there are wonderful. Television is at a wonderful time where a lot of.
We sort of left the golden age behind with Mad Men and stuff like that, and Netflix has entered in, and Hulu, and there's this deluge of television has sort of moved us into a different age, which is yet to be defined. But there's plenty of great stuff out there now to talk about, and there's plenty of great stuff in the past to talk about as well.
So we wanted to start off today. Now, this was initially we thought this might be an easy topic, and then it got difficult, but we were able to come to a consensus. But it is kind of a category that.
It's a little contentious.
It's a little contentious, but it is a category that we, it deals especially with a kind of show that we both really, really like and and it's a lot of fun. And so we decided for this week we were going to break down the top 5 television space crews.
Right.
Cruise. The crew of
either a starship of some kind or a space station, or
and we, and frankly Ryan and I, because again we are highly educated about these subjects. We know exactly what you're thinking of. We know the crews that have all popped into all of your heads right now.
That's right. And we tried to consider all of them fully, and then this is the top 5 that we've come up with.
Top 5, and we know that you're probably going to disagree with us. And what should they? You know what they should do if they disagree with us?
I do.
What should they do if they disagree with us?
I'm going to let you say, because you have it all written down.
Yeah,
in front of you.
You should probably go to our Facebook page, the movie show with Joel and Ryan on Facebook,
right.
Or you can head on over to Twitter.
Disagreeing is fun, It's fun.
It is.
So do it there. It's a great place to do it.
We're going to start off talking about the best spaceship crews on television. Number 5, from 1978 and 2004.
It's a bit of a cheat.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a cheat, but get it. Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica is actually tied for 6th, but we thought it was an interesting compare and contrast.
Well, yeah.
I think I'll start out because I picked 1978.
Yeah, you like 78 more.
I don't know if I like 1978 more as a series. Probably not. It's very hard for me to differentiate the two. They couldn't be more different approaches to the same material, which is what's exciting about them. And they don't. It's not served by comparing them. But the reason I picked 1978 crew over the modern crew is the 1978 crew were friends, and they worked together to solve their problems, and they went out on dates with one another, and they went on missions, and they weren't constantly mutinying or trying to kill each other or actually killing each other and then covering up their killing of each other by killing more of each other.
See, and I argue that's what makes them a better crew. But I have a
you'll
weird,
get a chance to
weird
make that
management
point.
ethic. Yeah.
Yeah. The old 1978 crew was the sort of disco crew, with the the big hair and the and it was almost I don't want to say entirely, but it started out almost entirely male. The show actually got clever and in a very cool way, I think, to its credit, of working females into positions of power. With one character specifically, y'all know about Apollo and Starbuck and Boomer and Jolly, and all those guys were great. Their legacy sort of speaks for themselves. And our officers were very noble people, Ty and Commander Adama. But my favorite on the show, and it's not just because I had a crush on her, but just because she's looking back on it, it's very cool, was Anne Lockhart's Sheba, who came in the show about a third of the way through. She was an Army brat kid. She was Lloyd Bridges' daughter, who he commanded another Battlestar, who was, instead of running away from the Cylons, he was out kicking ass and taking them on head on. And then he disappeared, and she got sort of stranded with our crew. And she was one of the guys in a great way, but she was also, a woman who had a woman's wisdom, and she brought a really cool element to the show that, had it kept going past season 1, I think would have been great. So that's my take on 78 Battlestar Galactica.
I think 2004's Battlestar Galactica. I think it was. It wonderfully, reflects that time in television, in the types of shows, a
post 9/11,
post 9/11
Battlestar Galactica. For sure.
It was, the lots of not knowing who to trust, but knowing you had to put some trust into maybe people who are, everyone lives in a morally gray area. That's something that, that it really exploits. And so again, some wonderful characterizations, wonderful performances. I liked the darkness of it. I liked the intrigue. I liked that.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, and everything was flawed. Every decision. Lots of decisions had major consequences. I keep thinking about when they settled on what they ended up on New Caprica, and then they come back for the season and literally Apollo and they've all gained like 40 pounds, and I was like,
as far as time jumps go, that was a decent one. And I'll give it credit too, because Jamie Bamber, what I was describing, the downside of that crew, he comes out and says in a trial episode, I can't remember exactly what they were on trial for, mutiny probably, and he says, look, we have to get over this. Everything can't have a tribunal. We just the task at hand is so important,
it's too big,
that we have to forgive each other. We've had to forgive each other, and we have to keep forgiving each other for our differences and our problems, because this is the only way we'll survive. And they, not every character on that show lived up to that, but the ones who did are the ones that make a new future for humanity at the end, which is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. So Battlestar Galactica, it was.
As both good shows, and certainly the latter, really good shows. So say we all. So say we all.
Number 4. This isn't a cheat, but this is I think it's a solid disagreement.
Yeah.
Between us. We make our first entrance into the Star Trek universe.
Which
shows,
obviously is host to quite a few crews.
Quite a few.
A lot to choose from.
Yeah, lots to choose from. Enterprise, obviously the original crew, but we are focusing here at number 4 on Deep Space Nine and Voyager. And I just could hear, even though we recorded this several weeks in advance, I just heard all the listeners go, "What?
Yeah.
Voyager? What?" Hear me out, people.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try and shut up while you say your
First of all,
piece.
the show's called Star Trek.
It's true.
Voyager, Voyager more so than the original Star Trek, is an actual trek. The stakes are high. They have been thrown across the universe, and they need to find a way home. They, led by a brassy, hard as nails captain. Who is willing to lead with kindness, just as much as she is willing to just say shut up and do your job. She is a fantastic captain, Captain Janeway, Kate Mulgrew. She has to bring together. She appoints as her number one, Chakotay, someone who. No one, she does that so that everyone has to trust each other to try to build this bridge between her crew, the Enterprise or the Voyager crew, and Chakotay's band of marauders, I guess.
They're called the Maquis.
Thank you, the Maquis. And
they were fighting for Bajoran independence, and then even when Bajor got its independence, they were as sort of splinter faction resistance group to the Cardassians.
Yeah. Which, of course, all of you out there already knew as well.
Yeah.
And
plenty of you probably did. I don't know. I remember all that, and I didn't even like Voyager. So
yeah, see, but that's how it gets you. You say you don't like it, yet you know all of this stuff.
Well, look,
yeah,
I like Voyager. I love Kate Mulgrew. I really do, and I like Captain Janeway a lot. She's a really well-rounded and interesting character. Like in a long line of captains that are like that. I don't think any of them are very bad.
Oh no, they're not.
I like Chakotay, but by episode 3, he's just another first officer. I mean, he's been in the Starfleet before, to be fair, but he just, there's no conflict between those two, almost never.
Because he realizes he has to.
Well, right, but he realized right away, that's not interesting. I mean, Battlestar Galactica, to its credit, was crazy. They ran out of water. They were running out of fuel. The ship was falling apart. They had real problems. Voyager didn't have real problems. They had cheap, stupid manufactured ones. The only one which they really nailed, the one problem was when the doctor gets killed in the opening battle, this virtual reality computer doctor this hologram doctor appears. He's by far the most interesting character on the show. I mean, by a country mile. All the rest of them are just a bunch of pretty people. I don't know. Ethan Phillips is cute, but the characters just, Okay, and then look. 7 and 9, the less said about her, the better.
Sure. Okay, look. Voyager was the show that I would watch every single night after the news, before bedtime. It has a very special place in my heart. I know it's not great, but for me, it absolutely fills that need of camaraderie and fanciful sci-fi storytelling.
It was meant to be comforting, and it is.
That
is the one thing it's pretty good.
It was, So it is my nookie blankie, my warm slippers in the Star Trek universe.
A new space problem of the week to be solved, and rest assured it will be solved.
And hey, look, we got a little
by
bit
episodes,
closer to
and
home.
they needed to come back to that because the Star Trek show before that was really complicated. It was about religion. It was about terrorism. It was about all these huge issues. It was thoroughly serialized. There were, at least in later episodes, entire arcs, kind of like today's shows that just went on and on and on that didn't really resolve much of anything. And that, of course, I'm talking about Deep Space Nine, and that's my crew that I'm going to give credit to, with the caveat that a lot of the best characters on Deep Space Nine weren't members of the crew at all, which you can't really say for. You can say that about most space station shows have that sort of split. Babylon 5 too, which I really, really like. They didn't make our top 5 pretty much because the crew part of it was they were cool, but they were the most boring part of it. The ambassadors and the aliens and all the other characters were the ones that really made that show what it was. And Deep Space Nine, I think, is a little bit the same, but I thought that Benjamin Sisko, his arc from being a widower, this frustrated guy with this very difficult assignment, who discovers these entities that the planet he sort of steward over worship, and becomes their prophet by communicating with these things. So this is a very complicated idea, and by the end, he's accepted that completely, and it's this, with a lot of pit stops on the way, but it's this. Each character on that show has this long, slow evolution journey. They're all dramatically different people by the end of it than they were when it started. And as far as fun, flashy characters. Renee Auberjonois, Constable Odo, and Armin Shimmerman as the first sort of main Ferengi on a show. Yeah, they're wacky and fun, and Morn, who Joel and I, before we knew his name, called the Dude, who's just this weird dude that was always walking around.
My God, yeah, yes, absolutely. I forgot where you were going there for a second, but that guy was just like, oh, look at there he is.
I've been told to bring up memories more like you do, so I that's me giving it a shot. I love Bajorans. I mean, I really feel for them. I the Cardassians, while very villainous, are understandable and relatable in a way, and very kind of duplicitous. And the Dominion and the Dominion War is a really powerful thing that happens in Star Trek history that unites different factions. When Worf came into the show as a sort of shot of electricity, that really, I thought, helped the show a lot. And so I really like Deep Space Nine. It's way heads and shoulders above Voyager. But more than that, and this is we should let this out of the bag real quick before we move on. Yeah. The original crew didn't make our list.
No, they did not. No,
and I wanted to give love to Deep Space Nine, but let's just say for a moment, because they're not on the list and we're not going to talk about them much, but obviously the original Star Trek crew, maybe not the original crew in space of all time, but they get the distinction of being the template from which all of these things are made.
We're kind of, you almost kind of have to put them apart because
they weren't from our generation, which is why they didn't make our list.
Right, but, it's like it's like when I was talking about Wizard of Oz a long time ago. A lot of the things that that the standards by which we judge other things. Wizard of Oz sort of helped create those standards. The original cast, or the original crew, I should say, of Star Trek. That kind of they sort of are that standard by which we get to judge everything else.
And they don't really need our help.
Yeah, they don't. So they kind of are set apart. They kind of don't. Frankly, they kind of, I don't know, for good or for ill, they don't get to be on a list of the best crews because they were
the only crew. They were the crew.
They were the crew.
It was the Lost in Space crew at around the same time.
Sure. But again, you could argue, is that really a crew, or is that just a bunch of people kind of all thrown together?
It's a family who is also a crew.
All right, so number 3 on our list. I mean, this is an obvious one. I think everyone probably, and I think this is an appropriate place for it, and I think everyone's going to see this coming. But it of course is the crew of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Yeah, the original cast of Joel Hodgson playing Joel. on this ship sent up by mad scientists, and Joel builds a couple robots
so he can have some
companionship. So he's obviously an incredibly intelligent and gifted person.
Yes.
And
I'll also give him this. As an engineer, he did a really good job of creating things. And this, he couldn't have known how handy this was going to come in. But he created a couple of companions that look excellent in silhouette.
Absolutely. And so they have they get these. These mad scientists have this this dastardly plan to send horrible movies up, and make him watch them, whether it be Manos Hands of Fate, or Gamera, or
Gamera is really neat.
Gamera is filled with meat. Fugitive Alien, my personal favorite, the Fugitive Alien episode.
Even I've seen that one.
So of course, Mystery Science Theater 3000. Absolutely one of the funniest shows, most original shows.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I was, growing up here in Minnesota, I was lucky enough. I remember seeing these shows 6 p.m. on Sunday evening. When they first aired, and when we had no idea what we were watching, we just were like, what, and laughing hysterically, and obviously not catching the vast majority of the jokes, because the joke per minute ratio on that show is insane.
Yeah. And as a couple of would-be creative people, it has that powerful distinction, and it really is powerful to us, of, we could have done this. If we could have thought of this, we could have done it. Yeah. Anybody could have done it, but he did it. And that's really cool.
Joel Hodgson, and then later on, when Joel was able to escape the Satellite of Love, replaced by Mike Nelson. Just a fantastic show, man. I mean, I'm watching. Well, speaking of Thanksgiving, years later, when it started really gaining in popularity, they would do giant Thanksgiving Day marathons.
Yeah.
24 hours of MST3K. That was a fantastic way to spend the day. So shout out to Tom Servo, to Crow, to Cambot,
Don't forget Cambot.
Yeah, don't forget Cambot.
To the Pants Dance.
Yeah, Pants Dance. Lovely Rita Maid.
No question.
Of course, I can't remember the producer. The guy who's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What was the name of that producer of all these horrible movies that kept his name kept appearing in all these things?
I can't remember.
Oh man, MST3K, one of the greatest spaceship crews. You want to talk about they managed to stay alive. They managed to they managed to thrive in what would be a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
So I think they're absolutely worthy of the number 3 spot on this list. So
nice.
Number two.
Who's it gonna be?
Well, we're gonna go back to the Star Trek milieu.
Yeah,
again.
There's one big.
Yeah, I mean the
group
gap.
That we haven't mentioned yet.
I sort of feel the gap between 1 and 2 and the rest of Spaceship Crews on television. I feel like there's a pretty big gulf.
Yeah, with obviously the appropriate shout out to the original crew. I would agree with you. I mean, for my enjoyment, that's probably true. Although I really do love my Deep Space Nine comrades.
Sure, but like you even mentioned, when Deep Space Nine was in need of a jolt of electricity, they turned to the crew of the Next Generation.
That's right, and Star Trek: The Next Generation, which I thought was a bad idea back in 1987, and which I thought I hated for almost this whole, first season and change. I thought it was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, did those people grow on you. They really became a member of the family, it's one of the great things about television. Is why we should always endeavor to work them into the show and not lose track of it. Is when you get to watch a character for for 7 years, and the things that they go through and the way they change and the way writers like evolve and change. That the next generation is just. When you look back on it now, and I guess this isn't news to anybody, but it is chock full of some of the best standalone speculative fiction episodes ever on TV, and just the top sort of, like journeys of personal discovery through science fiction, through ideas. It very much picked up the mantle of the best of the original series.
Yeah. And
by the time it was over, just delivered, every once in a while there'd be a dud or whatever, but it just delivered time and time again on TV that kept you going to the end, and characters that you really like to spend time with.
Yeah, an absolute, and real, and top to bottom, pretty solidly performed from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Hell, even a young Will Wheaton as Wesley Crusher.
Yeah, he gets a lot of guff, but I like
Will
Wheaton, and I like Wesley Crusher.
Yeah, he did a lot of really, he did a lot of great things and served some very served a very important function a lot of the times to help other characters,
he was meant to be a surrogate for us, the kids that were his age at that time, who wanted to serve on a crew.
Who would always want to be
and
a
of course,
crew. And
most of us just resented him for that, which is too bad.
Right.
But we did, but what the show did with him, even though they wrote him out of the show to some degree, they never really lost track of him. He kept making appearances, and some of his episodes, especially the episodes that he came back on after he'd left, are some of the best on the show.
Right. Yeah. I mean, early on, like you said, he served as our, the kids who were watching as their gateway into the show. And what I loved about the show is a lot of times, especially in those first seasons that he was on, it would often be about him making, he's so eager to do well and to prove himself, like any kid would want to, would be on a crew like this, and having to get smacked down a little bit. Yeah, just saying, hey, look, we get it, we get that you want to do well,
but he was a genius that
time,
literally saved the ship many times too.
Which is also, that's some wonderful wish fulfillment for us kids who wanted to fly in a starship.
Yeah, like I said, I just don't think it worked that way. I think the super smart super nerds out there, Trekkers, just didn't like seeing any. They didn't like the show telling them who they were. Basically,
yeah. Sure.
I think that's why he's not popular.
Well, that could work. Yeah.
But I like him. I think he's cool. Especially now that I'm older, you look back and he brings a dynamic to the show that the show didn't have after he left.
Right.
Truly,
right. But of course, Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, Brent Spiner.
My goodness, Brent Spiner really is a special on that show.
Yeah. Yeah, and
you don't have to say much about Patrick Stewart. He's everything he's chalked up to be. And
well, I mean, I remember when the show was announced and they have this this acclaimed Shakespearean British actor. We didn't know. I certainly didn't know who he was, but
I did. From Life Force and Dune.
Yeah, well, you're a lot smarter than I am.
Yeah, I watched a lot more movies.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing soccer and stuff.
Yeah, I know. But so we had we had this. We were all used to this rough and tumble Kirk. Solving things with his with his fists, and then suddenly we have this this bald regal captain who with this amazing voice when he would talk, and he could and again using his wit and guile to for the most of the time getting the crew out of scrapes, getting the Enterprise through major events. Not always having to rely on we're going to punch our way out, we're going to shoot our way out. We're going
and strength in reason and strength in sort of calmly going where no one has gone before. He is a very I don't know, just potent figure of authority on that show that is slowly revealed to have quite a bit of soul. And Patrick Stewart, actually, when you ask him, he tells the story of being on that show as he coming over from England and with his classical training and not liking sort of the loose Hollywood, everybody hanging out and joking between takes and stuff. And by the end of the show, they were all best friends, literally, and he was more like that. And you see the captain become more a reflection of the people around him, too, in that show, maybe more than any other. Yeah. And it's a really neat case of the art reflecting life and vice versa, too.
Isn't the last shot in Next Gen, the TV series, wasn't it them playing poker? I remember that?
I can't remember.
Am I remembering that correctly?
If that's true, that's very appropriate.
I apologize if I'm wrong on that, but for some reason I'm remembering that it was wonderfully appropriate that they're all around a table together, enjoying each other's company, because it was clear how much everyone on that show enjoyed making that show. Enjoyed telling these stories and inhabiting these characters.
That was infectious.
Terrific crew. So now we move to our number one television spaceship crew. They're really, this was, to me it was pretty obvious it was going to be.
Well, maybe not number one, but maybe you haven't heard us say it yet,
sure.
And you guys must know, knowing that it's not going to be Kirk and Spock, you guys must know what it's going to be, which is the crew of the Firefly.
Absolutely. The wonderful brown coats, Captain Malcolm Reynolds.
Yeah.
A one season and done show.
Half season, 13 episodes.
Half season. Not a show that was not given the love that it deserved in life, but in death it has.
Yeah, not from Fox, and really not from us. I didn't watch that show when it was on back in 2001. I didn't watch it, so I was one of those people who wasn't paying attention when it was on and didn't realize how special it was until sometime later.
I didn't. My brother was in a motorcycle accident, and I was hanging out at his house helping him recover. And he was like, "Well, we got to watch. Let's pop this in and watch these episodes." And I'm like, "Oh, I've heard of this show. This is a good show." And I had no idea. I had no idea how much fun and how good this show was.
Joss Whedon's writing on that show is so sharp. He describes it as, writing like they were going to pull the plug at any second. And so everything they sat down to do, they just had a desperation to it, and it's in the writing that electricity and that will try anything. These people can say anything at any time.
Yep.
It captures his personality, obviously, at least the personality of his writing that we see now in The Avengers and some other things. But more than anything, that ship is designed in a way that you want to live there, and you want to be somebody who chartered a flight on the Firefly. It makes you want to be a part of the crew.
Yep.
And you're so envious and so excited to spend more time with those people. We said that about The Next Generation, which it was a really important part of that. But for Firefly, to me, it's everything. That crew, man, you wanted to have dinner with them. You wanted to have your own little sleeping quarters that you had to climb down into. You wanted to go on heists with them.
Yep, you would run through a brick wall for
any of them.
Excuse me, for Malcolm Reynolds. You would, when Shepherd Book is going on about and essentially preaching, you're like, there was a respect. There was. Obviously love between much of the crew. There, and there was also, even within the disagreements,
which there were plenty
which there were plenty. It was, it was just, they were just so, magnetic in their personalities. That show, boy, and they tried to, with the movie Serenity, they tried to wrap up some of the stuff that they couldn't get to in the series to try to.
Well, and Serenity is a gift, and it actually is the kind of, I don't know how great a standalone movie Serenity is necessarily, but it's the perfect bow tied on the top of that series. We're so fortunate to have it because there's no reason Universal should have wanted to make that.
Correct.
The DVDs sales of Firefly were through the roof eventually. It sold well in syndication, blah, blah, blah. So they thought, well, maybe we'll do a film series. And that didn't happen. The movie did okay, but it didn't, it was like the show. It didn't get enough attention to kind of keep going. Mm-hmm. I'm very grateful to have that. There was this time, about a 10-year period there, where everybody involved in that show would have gone back and just done more of the show. Would have done another movie. Sorry to Firefly fans, to the browncoats out there, we're beyond that. That's not happening anymore.
Correct.
But that's okay. What we got, 9 of 13 episodes were near perfect television,
absolutely.
And an absolutely fantastic. Big scale, as big as you could hope it to be, and terribly moving and just full of ideas film that has a sort of bittersweet ending you'd expect a show like that to have. That's for sci-fi fans, for space opera fans,
for people
Western
who want to aim
fans
to misbehave.
Yeah, it's a fantastic
so
show, and that's
good.
a great crew, and that's why they got our number one.
That's why they are number one.
Yeah.
Disagree with us? Do you agree with us? You want to tell us how unbelievably smart we are?
If you're mad that Farscape's not on there, it actually got the votes to be number 5, but we thought a Battlestar Galactica conversation would be more interesting.
Correct.
That remains to be seen, but just so you know, Farscape, really close, just hanging on.
So you Farscape fans.
Yeah.
Oh, so close. But disagree, please reach out to us on Facebook at The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan on Facebook, or at Ask Joel and Ryan on Twitter. So now we are going to introduce a new segment. What is going to happen is we are going to have we're going to
no. You just what's the segment called?
Segment is called the Tickertainment Trend Tracker, the Hollywood Stock Exchange.
Bye bye bye. Bye bye bye.
I've listened to this so many times. This brings me such joy.
Sell.
So.
Bye bye bye. Sell.
It's just another in a long.
Bye bye bye.
Oh my God, that makes me so happy.
In a long line of too long intros that I make so that our podcast can be as podcasty as possible.
Oh my God, that just makes me so
now you can go ahead and explain
sorry,
what it is.
Yeah, I probably, that's what I kind of think I'm in this euphoric state now.
Hurry up, we're running out of time.
Anyway, okay, no, so what's going to happen is I'm going to throw out some trends that either I've been noticing or have been written about going on in television and in movies. Ryan will tell me if he is buying or selling. So I went and invented the Tickertainment Trend Tracker. Let me consult it here. All right, so first one. Oh, this is a good one. Recliners in movie theaters, buy or sell?
Sell.
Ooh, sell.
And I can only speak for myself. You guys like going out in public and lying on your back like a beached whale in front of other people while you stuff overexpensive crap food in your face. Go for it. I'm not going to stop you from doing that. and neither are the fine folks at Carmike Cinema. They'd love to have you. But lying on your back in movie theaters, just, I like to recline a little bit. I mean, I do that, but I like the idea of kind of putting your feet up. But I've been in one of those and I wasn't really, I'm like, what am I doing? I didn't like it. Sorry.
All right, so the next one.
Oh.
Let me check my... Here we go. Okay, here. Oh, I like this one. Here we go. A return to embracing niceness in our protagonists. Getting away from the anti-hero.
Bye.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm all, I like I take all kinds, but I'll say that's cool. A hero that can show us the way is a little boring dramatically, but it's a challenge dramatically too. And when people rise to the challenge, those characters can be great. So I don't want to lose our great anti-heroes, but we can have it all, I think. So I'm buying that.
Excellent. Okay, then let me check my tickertainment. Great. The next one is, here we go. Oh, this is controversial. A return to practical effects over CGI.
Bye!
Definitely buying practical effects. Again, not over CGI. I think they can be used in tandem.
Yeah.
I think you've seen some movies that have been. I think if you watched Blade Runner 2049, there's tons of practical effects in there. They're blended in, with CGI, so it's all these different techniques that are getting along. The two recent Alien movies, which you can kind of say what you want about those scripts, but Ridley Scott built these sets and built these spaceship corridors, and I'm telling you, when you watch those, that makes a difference. So I'm definitely buying any return to practical effects. Any way you can do that, I'm for it.
All right, excellent. Let's do two more. Here we go. Let me check my tickertainment. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Teasers for trailers.
Bye!
I wanted to hit sell on that just to be lame, but people get excited about stuff, and so what? If it's a teaser for a teaser, it just shows you the logo and you hear somebody breathing or something. I mean, I don't care. If that gets you excited about film, all for it. And any teaser, like the less of the movie that can be in it, the more I'm going to like it. So I'm buying teasers for teasers.
Love it. Okay, great. Okay, and the final one for this segment. All right. Oh, the tickertainment. Oh, interesting. Okay. This is all it says. You still don't get it, do you?
Sell!
Of course, I'm selling on you still don't get it, do you? I'm also selling on what do you want from me. If you're sitting at home watching a movie, or you're in your recliner and you're picking the people sitting behind you's popcorn out of your hair, and you hear somebody on the big screen say, "You still don't get it, do you?"
What do you want from me?
Somebody. Typically, you go in the opposite order, but the point is, what do you want from me? If you're really doing a good job, you can almost pull that off. Most people don't, but it's been done. No one in the history of cinema has said, "You still don't get it, do you?" and had it be a decent thing. It's a lazy, stupid piece of writing, and it sounds dumb when the character says it. And there's a great YouTube video that Joel found for me, which is this collage of people saying, "You still don't get it, do you?" Watch it. It's all terrible. They're all awful. Yep. And you'll see a bunch of shows you think you like, and episodes and movies and stuff.
Actors who you love, characters who you love.
And they're all making absolute fools of themselves saying that line. I'm selling that one hardcore.
Sell!
Excellent. And that is the I can't even pronounce it. The Tickertainment Trend Tracker.
It's the first time hearing that name. It's a great name, but I'm glad you were the one who has to say it.
Oh, yeah. Well, sometimes you got to challenge yourself. It makes you a better person.
Good job. It's a great name.
All right. So, let's move on. Hey, do you think anyone has any questions out there?
Let's see.
I have a question. Who gave you the right to play God?
What the hell's going on out here?
Why do I bother?
What is the point in doing anything?
How dare you!
What more do you want from me?
I have a question.
Well, and hopefully we have answers. This comes from our good friend, Michael Klug. What films are film are you kind of ashamed to say that you have never seen?
I
know.
What kind of... there's a bunch. I mean, we all
I
have
know.
a list,
we all
right?
have a list. Yeah. I mean,
where you're like, I'm not even going to admit to not having seen that. And I'm about to rectify this, so I'll say this one. I just realized I've seen about, in my life, as a film fan and as a cinema freak, I have seen 1.5-ish Alfred Hitchcock films.
Yeah.
That's it. I've seen Psycho twice, and I've seen most of the birds, and that's it. And I'm not, and I don't expect to be a big Hitchcock fan, but they were selling a 15 movie Blu-ray Hitchcock collection for about $60, which is about less than $4 a movie.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and bought it at that price. Hey.
Yeah.
So I have 15 of them sitting here, including the two I just said. It's missing a couple of the big ones. But as a film fan, what Hitchcock did for the I don't know about storytelling so much, although he was, really great at that from like a short fiction Twilight Zone-y twist ending kind of, But what he did as an innovator of film techniques, what he did with the camera, what he did with editing, I mean, it's studied and it should be studied because, I think of all these iconic moments I know from all these films.
Yeah.
And I've never sat down and watched the films. And so that's on my list. That's on my to-do list.
Yeah.
And I got to get a lot more Hitchcock in me, and I will.
I got to admit that this, I mean, I've never seen this film. I can't say that I ever will see this film. I feel like I've seen this film, but I know for a fact that I haven't. I have never seen Casablanca.
Oh wow, yeah, Casablanca.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those iconic films.
It's
a film that helps sort of. I mean it's a touchstone for a lot of people. It sort of defines a lot of cinematic tropes and stuff that we have to this day, which is probably why I feel like I've seen it. Am I going to sit down and watch it? Maybe. I don't know.
You're at the point in your life where, because the only reason I've seen Casablanca is because it came on TV and I watched it. Otherwise, you know what I mean? And that was, I'm maybe having a hard time remembering. It was back in junior high-ish time.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen to you with Casablanca now, so you really will have to make yourself watch it.
It's going to be
and that gets harder with time. And we've heard it, and you've all experienced this. When you sit down with a stone cold classic that you've skipped, I mean, sometimes you're like, wow, but most of the time, even the best movies have a tough time living up to the hype the more you move on with your life from them. So, and I think that for me, at least, I can't speak for you, but that's especially true with movies from before I was born, before 1969, 72, somewhere in there. Got another one?
Yeah, I got time for
I have
another
a
one.
question.
Okay, this one I didn't set you up for this one, so hopefully I won't.
We'll see.
Stump you
Does
too
it
hard
start
on
with name a movie or
No.
remember a time?
Is there an iconic monster from either literature or old? We're getting close to Halloween, so that's why this one popped into my head. Is there an iconic monster from literature or old films that could benefit from a modern retelling?
Well,
I mean, they're trying.
I have to say that's a great question, but I'm having a hard time thinking of one that hasn't had a modern retelling. I think all those spectacle films from even the 30s, you go back that far, certainly from the 50s, we've all had our version of giant apes and big lizards and huge crabs and dinosaurs, in our film. So I can't think of one. They're making new Kong movies. They're making new Godzilla movies. This is all happening while we're talking.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful for those. None of those have knocked me out of the park, per se.
Sure.
But none of them have been, I don't want to say that any have been too terrible either.
What prompted the question is I want to see someone do a Creature from the Black Lagoon. Some sort of...
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That's
Have
a
you
tough one.
seen that movie?
Yeah. That one I actually have seen, but but
I
maybe
just-
some sort of like modern reinvention of it. I mean, and maybe you could argue that like Shape of Water is essentially sort of that.
I got a question for you, audience.
Okay.
Okay? Think of the Creature of the Black Lagoon poster or the Forbidden Planet poster, whatever, but and this is a question just mostly for the ladies in the audience. How do you guys get around now that there aren't monsters and robots to like carry you everywhere?
That's true.
I don't.
How do you cope?
And when did that change? Was that a change in etiquette, or? You know what I mean?
Monsters should. Yeah, usually they do.
They always carry their leading ladies, and you guys, you seem like you're always either taking a nap or.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's this has been a long day. I'm just gonna sleep for a while.
When you're
Bring me.
talking classic monsters, it's definitely a thing that you see a lot of. So that's my question.
I have a question.
Excellent. So you disagree with it? Do you want to share in at least my shame of not having seen Casablanca? Tell us a movie that you maybe I haven't seen this movie and I'm kind of ready to say it. We won't tell anybody.
Or put us on the spot. Ask us, have you seen this? Have you seen that? We'll answer.
Here we go. At Ask Joel and Ryan on Twitter, on Facebook, The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. You also can reach us via our page on podbean.com, Joel and Ryan, joelandryan.podbean.com.
And iTunes and Google Play eventually.
Yep, iTunes. And all
we
that
may
fun
not be
stuff.
there right this second, but it's coming.
That's
It's
true.
all coming.
It is all coming. What do you got going on this week, Ryan? Anything fun?
No, I don't have anything fun movie-wise coming on this week. Typically, this is the week I would watch the Godfather films, which I adore. I don't think I'm going to get to it. I got a lot going on at work, and I've put a lot of stuff off because I watched so many damn horror movies lately. So there you go.
I have a chunk of time here. I'm hoping. Oh, you know what I forgot to mention? I know I mentioned that last week. What I do, I'm hoping there's a few movies I'm hoping to catch up on before I start rehearsals on my next project.
Yeah.
So I got about a week here to try to cram in a bunch of stuff because then
I heard Casablanca's good.
I should check that out.
Yeah.
All right, so once again, thank you so much for joining us on another week of The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. I hope you all have a wonderful week of cinematic beauty.
Yeah, thanks. And remember what Joel's been pushing on the whole show. We want this to be a conversation, so please, anything you think we should do differently or anything you just want to engage with us about the movies themselves, that's the part we live for. Am I right?
Absolutely. And like I said, we're here for you. All of these years of knowledge of us sitting in darkened rooms and watching stuff and absorbing this stuff, it's got to come out or we might be sick. We might get, so let us help you.
Yeah, we're not against taking your guidance on that particular what path it takes at all. Please chime in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. Remember, all views and opinions represented in this podcast are personal and belong solely to the speaker and do not represent those people, institutions, or organizations that the speaker may or may not be associated with, unless explicitly stated. None of these views and opinions were intended to malign or deceive. And now, here's the producers, circa 1982, to play us out.
Bye, bye, bye!